Steam, like the steam from this tea kettle, is what helped humanity move forward, move to the industrialization, change the way we live. Many of our inventions may not have been possible without steam. Think of electricity, trains, cars, planes, even computers. Those things may not have been possible without steam power. Now that's not the kind of steam I want to talk to you about today. Today I want to talk to you about the acronym of STEAM, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. My name is Mike Gerstweiler. I'm an engineer, electrical engineer. I own a small business that makes industrial controls. But I'm here today as a representative of Mars, not the planet, but the Muskegon Area Robotics Students Organization, a nonprofit organization that enables students from all ages, from various schools in the area, to participate in programs related to STEAM, or STEM, as most of you probably know it. But more about that later. We all know the buzzword STEM. We've heard it many times in education, in schools. But why add the A in there? Why add the arts? Never before has the pace of technology and technological innovation been so feverish as today. So, who makes all these inventions? Who comes up with all these ideas? Who designs all these magnificent technological devices that we have every day? We're at the brink of feasible electric cars now with Tesla and Chevy and Nissan. We have the Hyperloop coming online, or testing. Faster transportation, nationwide transportation. We have SpaceX developing rockets that claim to put us on a new planet within a decade. Who are all these people? These are people that think outside the box. They don't follow traditional models. They can't just Google. You can't just Google how to create a rocket that sends you to Mars. These people use imagination and creativity to dream up new methods, to dream up new ideas, new ways of doing things. And we often ask ourselves, where do they come up with this? How do they know all this? How do they have this creativity? Are they born with it? Do they learn it in school? We don't really know. But sadly, I believe there's evidence of where a lot of us are losing this creativity, losing this individuality, losing our imagination. And I know some of you are not going to like to hear this, but I think this is happening in our public schools. And the reason I say that is because we relegate the arts to the very bottom of the important skill. Many arts classes, whether they be fine arts, industrial arts, visual arts, performing arts, are used as filler classes. They're not given the same importance as our core classes, as the traditional STEM classes. All of these classes, however, foster very important skills that can help students retain and grow these skills that they can use later on in various areas of their profession. Somebody who's never worked with clay or wood or metal or anything like that, wanting to go into a design job or something like that, how can they possibly imagine how to build something if they've never used the actual materials that they're tasked to build something with? How do they know what tools are available? How to use some of these tools? I like to tell the example of a structural engineer applying at an architectural firm. Yet he or she has never used any kind of hands-on material skills to build something. Now, we've all built sandcastles on a beach when we're young, and I can just see in the application form they put in for job experience, built sandcastles on a beach. We don't really want that, somebody building a high-rise building. We want somebody that has actually used metal, that has used wood, has used concrete, and has failed before they start building something that we all live in. The other way that I feel we lose the creativity in our young children is by standardized tests in our schools. While they seem like a good idea, you want to evaluate students, compare them to one another, and see what level they're at, help the ones that maybe aren't quite there yet, maybe use the ones who have excelled more to help the ones that need a little bit more help. But unfortunately, that's not how standardized tests are being used. They're being used to evaluate schools, to grade schools, to evaluate teachers. And I think that is causing schools and education systems to more focus on test scores rather than a well-rounded education for students. That doesn't leave any room for creativity. It's a great way of creating equally educated automatons, as I like to call them. A few years ago, I was invited to a symposium that the ISD put on, where they invited a speaker from one of the 3 automotive companies. He was a former engineer, and he came to us with a message saying that the type of skill set that today's students come to the workforce with is not adequate. And he said schools and businesses are really disjoint, and they need to start talking more again. They need to tell each other what each other is capable of, what each other needs, and that's not happening right now. When he went to hire students, he actually looked for specific clues in their resumes that said something about them that was different, that was out of the norm, that was not mainstream. Special hobbies they had, involvement in certain extracurricular activities. He wasn't looking for the book smarts. He was looking for the person that was a little bit out of the ordinary, maybe a little bit outside the box. I also have a friend who works for one of the major airplane manufacturers, and he once told me a story that when they first hire engineers, they send them away to a 6-month training camp, a training camp for creativity. They learn to play with Legos, with metals, with wood, with all kinds of materials that they normally don't touch when they're in school. And how sad is that? That they have to spend 6 months retraining these kids after all the money, after all the effort and time they spent in college or university. So what can we do about this? What can we do to educate students for the next 10 to 20 years when we don't even know what the world looks like 5 years from now? Do you know? I don't. No idea. Hopefully it's not too much different, but there's going to be significant changes. But one of the things that we can help to provide a good education for our kids is to give them timeless skills. And some of those skills are tied to the arts again. Creativity, individuality. Those are all skills that were used 100 years ago when people first started developing cars. They couldn't go and Google cars, how to build a Model T or something. That wasn't possible. They had to invent all these things. They had to think of all these things. Today, that same skill holds true. So how do we actually do this? One way, as businesses, is we can offer internships. We can bring students in, have them learn, have them see how things are done in the real world. Summer jobs, same idea. Various programs, educational extracurricular programs like Destination Imagination, First Robotics, those are all programs that engage students and engage their creativity and foster their creativity. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm from Mars, the Muskegon area robotics students, and we provide opportunities for students to build robots. This one here was built by high school students last year, and they go to competition with this, And they built this in 6 weeks, from nothing to this in 6 weeks. It's pretty phenomenal what they do. But the robot is just a vehicle. It's not the end product. The end product is for them to gain confidence in using their hands-on skills, learning new skills, communicate with businesses, and many other aspects that they just don't seem to get in school anymore. And it starts at a young level. It starts in the elementary level with the Lego League, where they build robots out of Legos. And then they go before judges and they explain all their findings and how they came up with things. Then they move on to slightly bigger robots in middle school until they come up with these 150-pound behemoths in high school. And so there's a large number of these teams in the country. I think there's over 3,000 teams in the country that do this. And we can all help. Believe it or not, you can all help with this program if you choose. If you're an individual, you can donate your time to help with team activities, provide food. These kids eat like crazy. Help with team activities, logistics, and such. Or just come out and support the team at competitions. If you're a business, it's even better. If you have a business, you can provide materials, services, maybe even funding. And there's a great side benefit. We have some of our students that are now working at local businesses because they just can't find employees with the skills that they learned with us anywhere else. So it's up to us, all of us, to ensure that these programs continue to exist and continue to flourish, because that helps all of our students with a better education, get a more well-rounded education. If you're a school, or if you're a teacher or a school administrator, you can help to bring back these hands-on classes back into your schools. Wood shop, metal shop, now called industrial arts, which sounds much fancier, but it's the same thing, but it's still a very, very important set of skills that all students, I believe, should have at one point in their life, no matter what they go into. So, in closing, I just want to remind you that all of us share in that responsibility of ensuring that our students receive a well-rounded education. And I want to challenge each and every one to make sure that STEAM continues to flourish and that our country does not run out of steam. Thank you.